When someone dies today, you barely have to see it. A phone call is made. Strangers in a van arrive and quietly take the body away. A few days later, it comes back, cleaned, dressed, and sealed inside a box. You stand near it for an hour and you cry. Then it's gone, buried or burned, out of sight forever. The whole thing is calm, clean, and handled by somebody else. For almost the entire history of our species, none of that existed. There was no van, no box, no somebody else. There was just a body, your own two hands, and a problem that could not wait. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about a dead body. It is dangerous. A corpse begins to rot within hours. It bloats, it leaks, and it begins to stink. And that stink carries for miles. And that smell is a dinner bell. It calls in hyenas, big cats, every scavenger for miles, straight to where you live and sleep. A rotting body also breeds disease, right next to the people you love most. In a small camp, there was nowhere else to go. A single body left too long could sicken everyone around it. Death, left untreated, could quietly kill the living. Most of these groups were always on the move. They could not drag a rotting body with them, so your ancestors could not sit with their grief for long. They had to do something with the body, and they had to do it fast. The only question was what, and the honest answer is going to disturb you. Go back far enough, and our ancestors didn't bury their dead at all. They ate them. In a cave in Spain called Atapuerca, scientists found tiny neck bones. They belonged to a small child. The child was somewhere between 2 and 5 years old. In a 2025 study, researchers found cut marks on those tiny bones. The head had been removed. The flesh had been stripped away. The bones were processed exactly like the deer and horses they ate for dinner. That child died roughly 850,000 years ago. To these early humans, a body, even a small one, was simply meat. And this was not some one-time horror. In another Spanish cave, El Mirador, researchers studied human bone. Around 650 fragments of it. A 2025 analysis found cut marks on 132 of them. But it was a stranger detail that gave the whole thing away. The ends of many of the bones were worn smooth and polished. That polish comes from one thing: being stirred inside a boiling clay pot. These people didn't just eat their dead, they cooked them first. Sometimes the reason was hunger, but sometimes it was something far darker. In a cave in Poland called Masika, scientists found 53 human bones. They belonged to at least 10 people, 6 adults and 4 children. A 2025 study found cut marks or fractures on 68% of the remains. The skulls had been cracked open and the brains scooped out. The ears had been sliced clean off. The human bones were mixed in with butchered horse bones, like scraps from the same meal. This happened around 18,000 years ago. There was no famine at the time. Food was not scarce. These were not desperate people eating to survive. The leading theory is darker. These were enemies, defeated in a fight and then eaten. And it wasn't only our own species doing this. The Neanderthals did it too. In a Belgian cave called Goyet, researchers found Neanderthal bones. Over 100 fragments cracked open for the marrow. For a long stretch of prehistory right across Europe, being dead meant being eaten. You might wonder how anyone can possibly know all this for certain. The answer is written into the bones themselves. Under a microscope, the cut marks tell the story. The marks on human bone look identical to the marks on a butchered animal. Same blade, same angles, same purpose. Human bones cracked for the marrow, tossed in with the dinner scraps. The story is impossible to mistake. But not all of it was about food. Some humans ate their dead for a much stranger reason: love. In a British cave called Gough's Cave, people cleaned human skulls. They used stone tools with great care. They removed the face and the base. What was left, they shaped into a cup. This wasn't violence. It was a ritual, a way of keeping the dead close, by drinking from them. For some groups, eating your dead was an act of respect. It was their version of a funeral. Even in recent times, some cultures ate their own dead. They ate the ashes, or the flesh, a way to keep a piece of them alive, inside the family. To them, burying a loved one and walking away would have seemed cruel. The kindest thing was to carry them with you, literally. And then slowly, something began to change. Somewhere deep in our past, humans started doing something no animal had ever done. They started to take care of the body. In a cave in Israel called Tin Shemet, archaeologists found burials, some of the oldest ever discovered on Earth. A 2025 study described bodies deliberately placed into the ground. They were curled onto their sides, knees to the chest, arms folded to the face. A sleeping position. These people were buried around 100,000 years ago. Some of these graves held lumps of red ochre and carefully chosen objects laid beside the body. The red ochre may have stood for blood or for life itself. Why bury anything beside a body at all? Because they believed the dead were going somewhere and might need something for the journey. It is the first faint sign of a belief in an afterlife. That is the moment that truly matters. A human had decided a body deserved more than to be left or eaten. And something brand new was born. A belief that death meant something. And it wasn't only our species who felt this. In a cave in Iraq called Shanidar, researchers found a Neanderthal grave. Clustered in the soil around the body were grains of ancient pollen. Some scientists think flowers had been laid on the dead. If they're right, it may be the oldest funeral flowers ever found. The same species that butchered its dead in one place mourned them in another. But even burial, back then, was nothing like the version you know. It was hands-on, and it was grim. Some groups didn't bury bodies at all. In hard, frozen ground, digging a grave was nearly impossible. So the sky became the grave instead. They left them out in the open, on platforms, on rocks, on high windy places, for the birds and animals to strip the bones clean. Only then would they return, gather up the bare bones, and keep them. This is called excarnation, and people did it for thousands of years, and some still do it today. In parts of the world, the dead are still laid on high towers, left for the vultures, exactly as their ancestors were. Other groups buried a body, let it rot, then dug it back up. Then they cleaned the bones by hand, peeling away whatever flesh still clung on. The smell of doing that work is something you genuinely cannot imagine. And these people understood decay better than you ever will. A 2025 experiment recreated Stone Age graves. It showed how carefully they planned around the rot. They built graves to hold a body together as it broke down. Death, for them, was never hidden behind a closed casket. It was watched, handled, and managed with bare hands. Some groups chose fire instead. On the dry shores of Lake Mungo in Australia, they found a woman. Her body had been burned, the bones crushed, then burned again. She died around 40,000 years ago, one of the oldest cremations ever found. Long before Egypt built a single pyramid, humans were turning their dead to ash. Some of them didn't want to let the body go at all. In the ancient town of Jericho, people kept the skulls of their dead relatives. They coated the skulls in plaster and molded new faces onto the bone. They pressed shells into the eye sockets. Then they kept these decorated skulls inside their homes, sitting among the living. Grandpa didn't get a headstone. Grandpa got a shelf. Others tried to defeat the rot entirely. In Southeast Asia, ancient hunter-gatherers smoked their dead over slow fires. A 2025 study called these some of the oldest mummies on Earth. Older than Egypt, older than anything in the Americas. The bodies were slowly dried in the smoke, then kept close to the family. It was a way of refusing to say goodbye, for as long as possible. So look at the full, staggering list. Everything your ancestors did with a body. They ate it, they boiled it, they drank from the skull, they left it on a rock for the vultures to pick apart. They dug it back up, scraped the bones clean, and kept them. They smoked it, they plastered it, they stood it up in the corner of the house. Almost nothing on that list would be legal today, or even survivable to watch. And yet, underneath all of it sits the same human instinct. Not one of these groups simply turned and walked away from their dead. Every one of them decided that the body mattered, that a person did not just blink out of existence the second they died. It's the invisible thread connecting a smoked mummy, a plastered skull, and the quiet funeral you'll attend one day. Only one thing has really changed. Now you get to grieve without smelling it. You are the first humans in 2 million years who never has to touch the rot. And if that doesn't make you grateful for a plain, closed wooden box, nothing will.